It just shows, I think, that the market has been a little bit complacent about the impact of the war. And when they see the headlines today about Israel and the US hitting this gas field, now this gas field will not have a huge impact on international markets. It's gas that is used at home in Iran. But what it does mean is I think Iran will take it as a signal that the energy system, the global energy system, is fair game. So there's a lot of worry now that means that they will intensify attacks against oil refineries, against oil fields, against export terminals, and indeed concentrate on the Strait of Hormuz. And it will just mean that the pain that's going through the energy system will increase.
I mean, as news director for all of this arc, and, you know, whether it's Jumana Bersetji in Dubai with some real risk there in all, what's the Will Kennedy axis where this war becomes critical for our microeconomics? Is it days, Will Kennedy, weeks? Can we get out to May 1st?
It's happening now. It's just not evenly distributed. We've been reporting all week, and you'll have seen it and talked about it, Tom, that, you know, if we look away from the flat price of crude oil into how energy markets are playing out in different parts of the world, it is already disruptive, whether it's $5 diesel in the US, with all that means for America's trucking companies and America's farmers, whether it's the fact they're actually rationing fuel in some parts of Asia, like Vietnam and Thailand, or whether it's the fact that Japanese refineries, one of the world's big refining systems, are looking at cutting runs, that China is having to keep fuel at home. It's happening now. And the fact that those things are happening means that as the days go by, consumers will be feeling the impact, and they'll be feeling the impact, less money in their pocket. They'll be feeling the impact in the fact that people have got to put their prices up to recoup these rising fuel costs. It's starting to happen. There's always a lag. We remember that from the Ukraine war. But don't concentrate just on the flat price of crude. Yes, 108 is a big number, but look at jet fuel markets, fuel oil markets, diesel markets.
The headline comes out off the team that Will Kennedy has. Qatar says Israel striking Iran's gas field, irresponsible step. I mean, Paul, this is stronger language. It's just how you get out to $108 a barrel.
I think you're right, Tom. I think you're right. So, Will, given that headline here, just in the last couple of days, President Trump has asked some of our erstwhile allies for help in the Strait of Hormuz, mostly been rebuffed by those countries. What's your reporting in London, in Europe, about how our European, I guess, allies are viewing kind of what's happening in Iran these days with the U.S. and Israel?
I think most people in governments in Europe would make the following points. They weren't consulted about this war starting. They're extremely dubious about its strategy and what the end game is. And they're also, and I think this is an important point, extremely dubious about what a military solution to the Strait of Hormuz looks like. Trump says he wants ships to open this, but when you actually talk to people who understand how the naval operation would work, at a time of war, opening Hormuz to commercial shipping and keeping it open would be an enormous naval task, a task that probably the US Navy, let alone smaller European navies, are not equipped for. This might be part of the solution after the war ends, but I think most governments would say this is not even possible while the conflict is still going on. So you should turn your mind to finding a way to end the conflict. Now, I'm not passing judgment on that view. I'm just trying to reflect what the conversation is like here in London and Paris. But I think that would say we did not ask to be in this conflict, and the way that you're asking us to be involved is not realistic.
Is there concerted efforts on the part of European governments, UK government, to work with the U.S. to try to push for some diplomatic solution here? Or are the Europeans just kind of saying, hey, you guys broke it, you deal with it?
I think a bit of both, probably. I mean, I think they would explore any diplomatic opportunity to bring something around. Whether that exists, whether the European government's the right people to do that, I'm not sure. We know that President Macron of France has spoken to the Iranian president, so those efforts are in place. Obviously, the Gulf states are close allies of European countries, so those conversations between the likes of the UAE and the UK will be going on at the same time. But there's only the only people who can end this
Right.
conflict are the antagonists themselves. So that's what we need to happen. But I think Europe would love the shooting to stop.
Well, one final question, and I look at all the derivatives of oil. We all quote Brent now, folks, $108 a barrel. Let me check that for you now. My eyes are failing me this morning. I got to get Will Kennedy glasses. That way I do better. I look at petrochemicals. I look down the feedstock chain, Will Kennedy, at naphtha and that, what Qatar does, all the petrochemical juggernaut of the Persian, the Arabian Gulf is well. Those prices are moonshotting too, right? When does that industry collapse?
Well, I don't know that. Well, two things. Yes, I think there are chemical plants that will run out of some feedstock, and that, if this carries on, naphtha, which is the oil product which you put into chemical plants to make all the plastics and the chemicals that you're talking about, you rely on, they will slow down. They will, if not close. The other thing I would say was a really interesting story we saw out of Germany today, which is BASF, the great big German chemical giant, operates this enormous plant in Western Germany. It said it's going to have to raise the price of some of its products by 30%. And that goes back to the point I made to you earlier. We are starting to see the impact of this war, of what it's doing to the energy system, ripple through the economy. It's early days, but you can see it starting to happen.